Senator Roy Blunt calling in from Washington, D.C. Blunt.senate.gov is where you can find out all that he is doing. And Senator Blunt, good to talk to you again. I haven't talked to you in a while.
Well, Jamie, it's good to talk to you, and once again, thanks for what you do on the air every day. It's important to the people I work for to get to hear from you, and I'm glad to be with you.
Well, thanks for what you're doing up there, too. You're keeping the pressure on these guys, and it's much appreciated. You guys on the Senate floor there with Mitch McConnell and yourself going after this jobs bill. And so what about this thing? And again, once again, we're faced with the prospect of tax hikes and everything else. Tell us what your opinion is about the Obama jobs plan.
Well, I just really don't think it's a serious proposal. I don't think the president expects it to happen. If he was going to have the tax increase paid for, he should have stood right up before the 30 million Americans that were watching on TV the other night and said, and this is how we're going to pay for it. The idea that you don't know on Thursday, but you do know on Monday doesn't make sense to anybody. And the president couldn't raise these taxes when he had huge majorities in the House and the Senate just a handful of months ago, just last year. And so the president knows this isn't going to happen. There's nothing new in the jobs plan. It's the same jobs plan that led to zero job creation last month, and it's more of the same. And I could never figure out why he wanted to raise the level of this speech to a joint session of the Congress. This is something that he could have done on a factory floor somewhere or the Detroit Economic Club. But when you raise the level of the speech to this level, you better have something big to say. And I frankly just don't think there was anything there that's going to make much of a difference in the economy or is going to become law.
Your analysis is very interesting, especially when you point out that the president seemingly knows this is not going to pass. And as you pointed out before, and as you've been able to ascertain, what backs you up on this is the fact that everything he's proposed has already been rejected, and not just by Republicans.
Well, that's right. It's either been rejected or it's been tried. When your economic recovery plan is more unemployment, not paying into Social Security, and the Secretary of Agriculture said about 10 days ago that food stamps were a big economic job creator. You're running out of ideas, and the American people are concerned about that. There was this election in Brooklyn yesterday where a very popular political family produced the Democratic candidate, and they haven't had a Republican congressman since the 1920s. And Obama couldn't even go into the district to help because he's so unpopular in the district. His ideas aren't working, and there was nothing new in the speech that he gave last week.
Now, people would say, all right, so then what's the Republican plan? Well, Senator Blunt has co-sponsored a bill, and again, when you talk about what creates jobs, well, whatever President Obama's talking about certainly isn't, but Roy Blunt and other Republicans know what does create jobs, and one of those elements is a releasing of the shackles of federal regulations, and you co-sponsored a bill to actually not just relax regulations, but halt some of them altogether.
Well, that's exactly right. The federal government is not very functional right now, but the regulators are fully engaged and fully functional, and you can't expect people to make that. You don't encourage the final decision to risk money and create a job if you're constantly talking about more regulation, higher utility bills, higher taxes, and unknown health care costs. And the one thing that the president himself could do, and in fact I've asked him to do before the speech the other night, is just declare a moratorium on regulations for the next 18 months. That at least takes one of the uncertain elements off the table so that job creators, private sector job creators, have one less thing to worry about when they create that job. And, quit talking about trying to force cap and trade-like changes that would double the Missouri utility bill in 12 years. A lot of things work at today's utility bill that don't work at double today's utility bill, and job creators know that, and they are kind of in neutral right now, waiting to see what happens, I think, in the country over the next 60 weeks between now and the next election.
Yeah, businesses plan 3 to 5 years out, and what you just talked about in terms of the cap and trade, other regulations, I mean, if they see that in the forecast, there's just not a chance they're moving. Hey, in the meantime, Senator Blunt, who do you like in the presidential race so far on the Republican side?
Well, I actually think all of our candidates are presenting good alternatives. I know most of them, and I know them pretty well. I know the liberal media likes to say, well, they're really, look at that stage of candidates. There's nobody there that you'd want to be president. I got a feeling that the person that comes out of that is the person that the American people are going to say, we're ready for change. We've got to make this economy grow. There's some candidates that probably aren't going to be nominated, like Rick Santorum, that is making great points there on these debate stages about the kinds of things that Republicans stand for, as are Governor Perry and Governor Romney and Governor Huntsman and Michelle Bachmann and others. I don't know Herman Cain, but, he's an impressive guy. I do know Newt Gingrich, who comes to every debate with good ideas, and while I think he's not likely to be the nominee either, I think in October of next year, the Republican candidate is going to be talking about some things that he heard Newt Gingrich and Rick Santorum and other people talking about during these debates.
Can you briefly tell me what your opinion is of the whole Social Security deal? I know it's a big issue and doesn't deserve only 30 seconds, but in terms of the Ponzi scheme thing, in terms of what should be done, are you on Romney's side of this or are you on Perry's side of this? Can you tell yet?
Well, I'm on. I made a speech on the Senate floor about 90 days ago about the need to change Social Security, to change the 3 or 4 things that you need to look at, so that Social Security is there for the next 75 years, and you can do that, and it's doable. The difference, I think, the Ponzi scheme was probably an unfortunate term. Now, a lot of people say, well, it's people getting the money or getting it from the people paying in. But the difference in a Ponzi scheme is Ponzi went to jail, and this system is not designed to fail. It's designed to succeed. But for it to succeed, every once in a while, you've got to do what Ronald Reagan did in 1981 and say, okay, looking at the new demographics 100 years later, after Social Security was passed, it's going to happen in 2033. Well, we need to make some changes right now to ensure that can happen. And we need to do that. It's not that hard to do. The president would get a lot of credit if he led that fight. And I think Rick Perry is also saying, look, what I'm saying is that you've got to change Social Security, and there are different ideas of how to change it. And I'm probably on the let's do what's possible, which is look at the age, look at the COLA, look at how people pay in and how they draw out. I think we're unlikely to change the system dramatically right now in a way that would allow everybody to have their own private account. So let's figure out what really would work to be sure that young workers today will be drawing a Social Security check 70 years from today.
All right, Senator Roy Blunt, thank you very much for taking the time out, and good luck with the Regulatory Timeout Act. It's always good to have you on, and thanks for fighting the good fight up there on Capitol Hill. Senator Roy Blunt.